One evening, a will-o-wisp happened upon the residence of a wizard past his prime. It was a lonely place among the high meadows nestled in the Darien Mountains. The night air was still and allowed the wisp to glide effortlessly under the moonlight. The single candle in a window illuminated the tower's only restless occupant, Fifle, the wizard's servant. She was the wizard's elfish servant, to be exact. Her space was just a little alcove, which was fine because she was a rather diminutive girl. Also, the single light was sufficient, and this was fortunate since she was only permitted to use what was left of the wizard's candle after he had gone to sleep. The wizard was getting on in years. He went to bed pretty early, thus Fifle could expect to get many hours of reading in. She was cozy under her covers, surrounded by her simple possessions. The one thing a wizard's tower had in abundance were books. Fifle had read nearly all of them, even those among the shelves she was not supposed to touch. Elves were naturally mischievous in that way. This night, she read about court etiquette of a country she was unlikely to visit. She was a curious creature, however, and traveling to places far away in her mind was her favorite pastime. Fifle read the complicated steps to the Danse Volta and memorized them carefully. To her, this was almost as good as swirling across a dance floor in a foreign ballroom. At first, she was a little annoyed by the sudden flickering of the candlelight. She was convinced the distraction was the flame playing in the old glass. The tower was frustratingly ancient and full of drafts. Home maintenance was not the highest priority for old wizards, nor for young curious elves. Upon inspection, however, she was amazed, delighted, a bit frightened. It was a wisp. The little glowing thing seemed like it was trying to get inside. It bounced against the glass. Fifle understood something about wisps, enough to never anticipate seeing one in these mountains. She thought, surely, this wasn't one of the wizard's experiments gotten loose? If it was, he'd be cross with her. She simply had to tell Eric. He was the wizard's apprentice. Fifle's alcove was separated from his part of the chamber by only a curtain. She knew he'd be incredulous if he didn't observe the phenomenon for himself. She padded over to his bedside. Eric, wake up, she whispered. He slept on, and Fifle frowned. Eric! She jostled him. Then she held his nose until he gasped himself awake. It was a bit of a chore dragging him to her window, but she got him there, all blurry-eyed and confused. His first intelligent utterance was, "What am I looking at?" "The will-o-wisp." He rubbed his face and blinked several times. "There's nothing out there." She checked. Indeed, it had gone. "It has floated away." He spied the nearby candle, but before he could suggest she had only seen the reflection, she intervened by saying, "It wasn't a reflection." He squinted. "Is that the master's candle?" "It is." "He doesn't let me use his candles." Eric frowned. "He likes me." Eric replied, seeming a tad offended by the implication. "He likes me too." Fifle just stared at him long enough for him to start doubting. Then, after accomplishing that, she said, "Just look out the window." Alas, the wisp was gone. "Fifle, it's cold," he protested. "Wait a while. It shall return," she pleaded and made sure her face showed it. "Fine." He relented and made himself tolerably comfortable in Fifle's tiny space. He noticed the book. "What were you reading?" "The one about the Fernie's court dances." She showed him the illustration of the pretty courtiers, hand in hand. "I learned the Danse Volta." "Riveting." "Now I'm able to conduct myself properly in the halls of Saint Marin." He smiled at the elf. "You'll be the envy of all the courtiers." She found she liked it when he lied for her benefit and was happy for his company. Wisp or no wisp, Fifle was really quite lonely. Her whole world had very prescribed boundaries, as far as the lake, down to the monastery, the high meadow, to the old woods. If she went into town, she did so swaddled as if she were a leper, or as if she were waiting to be measured for a sarcophagus. Anything, in fact, except for what she actually was. Elves don't have the best reputation among the people of this country. Folklore says they steal children, they spread misfortune, they cause horses to bolt, and worst of all, they turn wine into water. This last one, however, Fifle had actually been guilty of. In her defense, it was Eric's 16th birthday, and she thought it wouldn't serve anyone for the wizard or the abbot to know just how much she and the apprentice had drunk. This was why she valued Eric's company so. She only ever met people who had cause to visit an old wizard's tower among the hinterlands of Austrasia, hidden in the Darien uplands. And really, the only legitimate cause was accident. When Eric first arrived, he was just a sniveling boy brought to the wizard because he seemed marginally smarter than other boys in a marginal town. But now that he had grown into a man, he had things other than Fifle's whims to concern himself with. Eric arrived at age 7. He was cute. Fifle was 21 years old and fussed greatly over the boy then. Things are much different now, 14 years later. He got a lot bigger, while she was imperceptibly changing. She was just about to tell him how much she longed to dance like the book's Farinese ladies in a court, any court, with anyone. But just then, the candle went out. Their eyes adjusted and the shadows shifted. Eric gasped. "Fifle, it's back." Fifle chirped in delight, and Eric nearly fell out of the bed. Like excited children, they ran outside to chase the tiny light down. While Fifle leapt to catch it, Eric wrapped the blanket around himself tightly. He smiled at the elf as she repeatedly exclaimed, "Got it! No, I didn't. Got it! No, I didn't. No, I didn't." "Fifle, we should get a jar. It can't penetrate glass." She huffed in frustration. "Might not be able to penetrate glass, but it can pass right through my hand." "Fifle, you're just missing it." "Am not," she protested as she playfully batted at the swirling light. "Got it," she hummed. No, I didn't." They chased the wisp across the grounds to the gate. Really, it was Fifle who chased it, while it was Eric who cautioned. "You're frightening it." "Do wisps get frightened?" she wondered. "It appears so," he smirked. She slouched. "I'm not going to hurt it." As she watched the light dance down the path through the small forest, between the tower grounds and the lake, she considered following it. "They say wisps will lead you to the lands of the Fae," Eric replied. "Or over a cliff." Fifle didn't think a wisp would do harm to an elf. She told the apprentice, "An enchanted willow must be nearby." Eric nodded, still watching the little yellow glow retreat. The elf girl announced, "I will seek it out," and added, "The master will be greatly interested." But the truth was that her curiosity would have her searching for the wisp's origin, even if the old wizard thought it was as interesting as the contents of a bedpan. Eric kept the blanket close about his shoulders. He took the girl's hand into his and said, "Bye, Fifle," followed by "tomorrow." Together, they went back to their beds.